the battlefield emerging in an escalatory fashion. I see a lot of emphasis on HIMARS. Why? Because we don't have long-range strike weapons. And so the targets that are within the range of HIMARS will be struck by HIMARS so that we can preserve whatever air-delivered munitions we have for other targets. And so a heavy emphasis of HIMARS this early in the campaign points to a weapons shortage issue, which, again, is one of the problems here. What is the United States trying to accomplish with this campaign? They had 39 days to break Iran's back, and they couldn't. Remember, it was the United States that sought out the ceasefire. Donald Trump has admitted we had to sign the MOU because we had no choice. We're running out of oil, and we didn't have the military means to change the reality that Iran controlled the Strait of Hormuz. And J.D. Vance admitted that the MOU is just a charade the whole time, that the goal the whole time is just to buy time to get oil, stored up. But it was also to buy time to get weapons deployed from other parts of the world to the Middle East. But the United States has bought a maximum of 3 weeks, 21 days. So now we're going to try to accomplish in 21 days, which we couldn't accomplish in 39 days, to defeat Iran. And Iran, on the other hand, has had a chance to fully evaluate the previous air campaign, understand targeting priorities, targeting, accuracy. It's what, we, the people, sit back here and we're told the U.S. struck this, that, and the other thing. We don't know what the U.S. struck. You know who knows exactly what the U.S. struck? Iran. They know everything. And so now they'll, again, they're not stupid. I watched the Iraqis do the same maneuver after Desert Storm. They do a full spectrum assessment of the targets struck by the United States, the dates. They know what was going on. So again, they don't need to know what intelligence the U.S. had. They can reverse engineer it by, let's say it's a target of importance. They can sit there and say, well, how did the U.S. find out about this target? What was happening that could have tipped them off on that? And then they do counterintelligence survey and improve their operational security to minimize target exposure going forward. But they also look at places the U.S. hit that have nothing to do. And I would say 80% of the targets struck by the United States had nothing to do with anything. We just blew up empty buildings. And so they're going to make a determination that was this simply a bad map survey by the United States, some AI generated program scouring maps looking for, something that could be used. Is it something that had historical affiliations? I mean, this is one way you find out. Manab School. Well, we know that Manab School became a school in 2016 and that the U.S. knew about that. So whatever targeting programs being used is scouring data that predates 2016 if they're going to say that was a missile headquarters. And so the Iranians have done their due diligence, I believe, and they have adjusted accordingly. So now, what have we done? If 80% of our targets are bombing nothing, that means that our intelligence isn't that good. Some people could say that maybe we fine-tuned our intelligence in the break between April 8th and now, and that we have a better feel for what the Iranians are doing. Maybe the Iranians made a mistake. Maybe there's something the U.S. is exploiting, but I doubt it. I just think that the United States has fallen back on past practices, and that once again, what we're doing is having zero impact on Iran's ability to respond. Is it causing pain to Iran? Every bomb drop causes pain in one way or another. But is it the kind of pain that's going to cause Iran to break? Because that's what we need Iran to do right now, is break. We need Iran to basically admit that the United States has won this war, that Iran will yield on all of the issues that Donald Trump is insisting Iran yields on. And that's just not going to happen. We don't have the military capability to make this happen. So, now you got to go back and say, well, then why did Donald Trump start this again? I mean, this is the key question. Because if all rational assessments point in the direction of irrational outcomes, meaning we're not going to get what he wants, by repeating a military campaign that failed the first time around with better weaponry, with better preparation. What makes you think we're going to, Einstein famously said, or at least it's been attributed to Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Well, clearly, if we're expecting expecting a different outcome, but if we're expecting that this time we're gonna break Iran when nothing's changed, we're insane. And I don't think that we're governed by insane people. I do believe we're governed by desperate people. And we have a hint of the desperation again. With Donald Trump, I had to sign the MOU. He said, I had to sign it. Desperation. He had no choice to sign a document that he didn't like, but he had to sign it to get the oil back up. So we know there's desperation now. And so now what is the source of desperation? He needs the Strait of Hormuz open. That's what he needs. Strait of Hormuz open on his terms. He can't be seen as yielding the strait to Iran because now you set a precedent. All other strategic straits around the world now can be taken over by the regional actors, and that disrupts the United States concept of control of the seas. That's why we are so insistent on freedom of navigation. But Iran now says that the strait belongs to us. Donald Trump needs to change, not the reality, because you can't. Unless Iran is defeated and yields the strait back to anybody but Iran, you're not going to achieve this. Iran will always have the ability to take control of the Strait of Hormuz. So you have to change the perception. And we have some hints again, some hints in this. What was one of the things that Donald Trump, posted? I'm taking control of the strait, he said. I'm taking control. I'm the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know. Is he Rocket Raccoon? Is he Star-Lord? I mean, which one is he? But the point is, I love that movie. But the point is, he's put that marker on. Then he put a price. Because before he said, it's ridiculous, outrageous that people would charge money to go through this. No, I'm going to charge 20%. 20%. And you're like, okay. Now, we can be critical of Donald Trump. I often am. In fact, I always am. But you have to respect the fact that the man, while I don't agree with him, and I don't agree with just about anything, he got where he is because he's sneaky like a fox. I mean, he's not a good businessman, but he's a New York City businessman, which means he operates with threats and blusters and stuff like that. And it seems to me that he's falling back on his roots, and he's just going in with a strong opener. A strong opener. First of all, understand that he just legitimized putting a price on passage through the strait after he said that was illegitimate. He just legitimized it. He said, nope, this is it. That's important because he just made the Iranians point. He told the Iranians that, I'm, just a second, I got someone calling in the middle of an interview. But he told the Iranians that, no, you're right. You can charge, but we're the ones charging. So there's that's an important thing. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the fact that Donald Trump just changed the dynamic. And now we put a price on. Now it's way high of a price. The Iranians are like, well, we were charging far less. But that's not the point. The point now is what Donald Trump's trying to do is get a piece of the action. This is classic Donald Trump. He wants a piece of the action. Now, how does he get that? We don't know because this is early on in the negotiations. But I believe the goal here is to cause sufficient economic disruption to the Iranians so that they will accept some sort of compromise deal that gives Donald Trump the face-saving mechanism that says, I negotiated a piece of the action. I'm the greatest president in the world. No one's better than me. Now, we don't know what that will be. I have some ideas because I don't think Iran's going to yield on its willingness to control. But we know that Iran was willing to give Oman a concession there. They said Oman can control the southern route through the strait, and Oman can collect revenues. So maybe a future potential compromise would be that Donald Trump gets a piece of the Omani action. Not the Iranian action, but the Omani action. But the Omani-Iranian control of the straits is still predicated on the fact that Iran gets to determine, what goes through, when what goes through, and how it goes through. This could be a face-saving mechanism because there's nothing else that makes sense. Because Trump isn't going to win, and if he's looking for total control of the strait, he's not going to get it. And the other reality is the pressures that Donald Trump felt to bring on the MOU back in April, they're even more constrained today. this is more than just about oil for gasoline and diesel. I think most Americans are going, hey, it's all about the price of gas at the pump. Well, it is sort of, but it's about so much more than that. A good deal of the world's fertilizers come out of the Middle East. The raw products, the sulfur, the ammonia. These are all byproducts of this distillation of oil, or the refining of oil. Helium, a critical component. All of these things, they're not getting to market. They didn't get to market. I don't know about you, but if I look outside, I tend to see farm fields in my area. That means crops have gone in.
A lot.
Hmm?
Here in Brazil, a lot. You can see a lot.
But what happens if these crops don't get the fertilizer? We get crop failure. That's going to happen. Now there's different planting season around the world, but the point is, fertilizers not getting produced in the quantities necessary to sustain the pace of agriculture necessary to feed 8 billion people. 8 billion, I think, is the world's population right now. What happens if we don't produce the food?
Yeah.
People starve to death. And when people start to starve to death, you start getting mass migration, because people just don't sit there and starve to death silently. They will start moving. Europe is going to be overrun, literally overrun, with desperate migrants from Africa and from Asia, from the Middle East, who are all going to be going to Europe to eat their food. If they can't eat the European food, they'll eat the Europeans, because they're going to need to eat something. Russia's okay. Russia produces its own fertilizer. Russia's never going to run out of this kind of stuff. The United States is okay. Europe is okay until it gets overrun. But the rest of the world that needs all this stuff, and this is a point that Sergei Lavrov just made when he traveled in Africa. He says, you're going to starve to death because of them, because of the United States, because of Ukraine. They're the ones. Ukraine is stopping our ability to send food to you. The United States is stopping your ability to get the fertilizers. Now, we'll provide what we can, but the U.S. sanctions us. This is not a good look for the United States. So it's more than just about gasoline and diesel. This is about the things that make life sustainable. And we already blocked them, their ability to be brought to market for 39 days and more. There's been more disruptions. We didn't resolve the blockaded stuff until later, and then it's been hit and miss. But the world got a little bit of a breather, but that's like, I'll give you an example from my own life. I used to body surf as a kid. I lived in Hawaii. I loved body surfing. I wasn't very good at it, but I loved doing it. And I would go out there in the big waves, and and then you invariably, the wave puts you down. And when the wave puts you down, it puts you down on the bottom. You're getting bounced off the seafloor. You're floating around, and you're just trained to basically let go, hold your breath, and wait until the wave lets go. Don't fight the wave, because that exhausts you. Just let it do it thing, and then come up and get a breath of air, get reoriented, and try to go in. But if the wave holds you down long enough, when you come up, right when you're getting ready to take that breath, boom, you get hit with the next wave, and back down you go. But this time you don't have the oxygen in your lungs that you needed. You're in trouble. And so now you're waiting, but now you're starting to get desperate. You come up and you're ready to take that sip. Boom, the third wave hits you. You can drown very easily. The world is being hit by waves of insufficient resources. The world got slammed by a wave. They came up to try and take a sip to get stuff released to market and all that. Their body thought, oh, we're getting a full breath of air. You're not. Bam, you're down. The world can't take too much more of this. Donald Trump is getting ready to unleash a massive wave on the global. It's not just the global energy market, it's global survival market. At a time when the world needs a full breath, full lungs, and the world's not going to get it. Donald Trump has the potential of killing billions of people. I mean, if there's a global crisis, Donald Trump will be the reason, only Donald Trump. So, this is very serious stuff. And I think Donald Trump's betting on the fact that there will be nations out there who will put pressure on Iran and say, no, you've got to find a compromise. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if Iran's willing to do that, but I am betting on the fact that China, if this war goes on for 3 weeks, China's going to be picking up the phone telling the Iranians, we got to find a way to get resources flowing. Russia's going to also be saying this long-term instability is not good for us. We need stable markets. Everybody's like, well, wait a minute, Scott. Russia makes a lot of money with high oil prices. 20% of their GDP comes from the sale of oil or energy. 80% of it depends on investments in normal economic activity. You don't get investments with high energy prices. That's what people don't understand. Watch Landman. I mean, Billy Bob Thornton is out there. His character, whoever wrote that, some of those scripts are brilliant. Talk about the importance of oil and things of that nature. High oil prices are bad, very bad. It's a short-term gain for some people, but when the prices come down, if they go down too low, all that money you made is gone. They need stability. They need that sweet spot. And Russia needs that sweet spot for long-term investment viability. Russia's seeking investments into Russia. Russia needs energy markets stable so that the people have stable economic foundations upon which to build their investment stake. So I think Russia will be picking up the phone. China will be picking up the phone. India will be picking up the phone. Everybody will be picking up the phone saying, hey, we got to find a way out of it, just like they did last time. Because remember, Iran took extraordinarily hardline positions. But they agreed to an MOU. They knew the U.S. was going to break, by the way. They knew it. But they agreed to it because there was political pressure placed on Iran. I believe there will continue to be political pressure placed on Iran, and that Iran will eventually be compelled to offer a compromise. And Iran's not going to yield on major issues. They're not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz. They're not going to yield on their nuclear program. They're not going to yield on ballistic missiles. But if there's a face-saving mechanism, give Donald Trump a piece of the Omani action, maybe. I don't know. But this war makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. There's nothing logical about this conflict because Donald Trump isn't going to get what he wants, and he's putting the entire world at risk. This is what people need to understand. This isn't putting the Iranian economy at risk or the Middle East economy at risk. He's putting billions of lives at risk. Billions of lives.
Yeah. He said yesterday that he's going to escalate the war because his policy of getting back with the blockades to coerce Iran and somehow putting pressure on Iranian to force them into some sort of deal. He said, if I cannot get the deal as soon as possible, I'm going to attack next week. I'm going to attack the power grids. I'm going to attack the infrastructures in Iran. This is the plan on his part. And what would be the reaction on the part of Iran? And they're going to hit the same sort of targets in other.
But here's the beauty of it. I mean, they've already sort of given up. We have 3 weeks of supply. So we have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Right now it's phase 1. We're striking targets, making things go boom. It's not going to work. So next week we go to phase 2, which is we bring in energy target, not energy production, but energy facilities, the electricity generation, things of that nature, to increase the ping. And then we shift over to the final phase, week 3, and that's it. After week 3, we got nothing. We run out of ammo. Week 3 is to strike energy production facilities, to bring the pain, as he said. And so what he's hoping is that the Iranians think that he's not bluffing. But all Iran has to do is ride it out. And we don't have that much ammunition. So if I were the Iranians, they know what to do, but high value, irreplaceable infrastructure, remove it, hide it, shut everything down. Let the United States blow up a facility that can be rapidly repaired. Because remember, after week 3, we're out of ammunition. And then if Iran can reconstitute, we can't build more ammunition this time period. They can get their economy back up and running. The Iranians can ride this thing out. I think that's the reality. Then the question is, Israel's sitting there like, an unspent force. Now, Donald Trump is claiming to be putting pressure on them to keep them out of Lebanon to, solve that. But the fact is, when we run out of ammunition, we may say, Israel, you come in. You're phase 4. Phase 4 is Israel comes in and resumes the bombing campaign. And how long can Israel go? A couple more weeks till they run out of ammunition. But I think they're gambling on the fact that Iran doesn't have the ability to sustain this fight, that there will be political pressure put on Iran, and that Iran maybe doesn't have any missiles. Maybe there's somebody has done an assessment that said we killed more missiles, even though everybody says no, the Iranians have a lot of missiles. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but as I said, it's irrational, and it's a gamble that if it fails badly for the world. And we have to be thinking in those terms. I mean, Iran's going to suffer. There's no doubt about it. But Iran does grow its own food. I mean, they do some importation, but Iran, has food. They have water. So Iran as a national society isn't going to disappear. But there are nations that will disappear. I mean, pretty much every Gulf Arab nation will disappear. They can't sustain their populations without water, without energy. And when it's gone, it's gone. Qatar's in a lot of trouble right now, because with a few well-aimed rounds, you can take away Qatar's ability to generate, to produce liquid natural gas for a decade. And they don't have reserves to last a decade. And if you take out, their desalinization plants, they don't have any water. You take out their energy, they got no energy. They're depopulated. United Arab Emirates, the same thing. Bahrain's a very big risk. Kuwait's a very big risk. Saudi Arabia's a very big risk. So I just think that Iran holds all the cards, that this is really one of the dumbest things that Donald Trump's ever done, but this is an act of desperation for him. Politics creates its own perceptions of reality, and his reality right now is driven by the fact that he could not only lose the House in November in the midterm elections, but he could lose the Senate. I mean, the death of Lindsey Graham, replaced by his sister. Is his sister really viable as re-election fodder? Do you not think that the Democrats are going to pull out all the dirt that's going to come out on Lindsey Graham between now and November to diminish her viability, and who's going to replace? If the Republicans haven't been preparing to have somebody stand in for Lindsey Graham, the Democrats do have a challenger. They lose that seat, they're one vote closer to conviction. And if Donald Trump collapses the global economy and we have, the whole world falling apart, which is going to happen, people tend to forget that all it takes is a couple days of missed meals. At what point in time do people start getting desperate? I mean, right now here, if power goes out today, all right, I got a refrigerator or freezer full of food. Power's out. I got a generator. I've got enough stuff. I can run my generator for a week. Then that's out. Well, I don't know. I'll cook the food. But the food's going to run out. I got some canned food, but it's going to run out. My dogs and cats keep looking at me, meowing and barking, saying, "Feed me, feed me." Well, Maverick may become lunch because I'll be desperate. I'll go to the store, but everybody else is going to the store. Now, I'll drive to the store initially because I've got gasoline in my car, but eventually my car's going to go empty and there's no gas. So now I'm walking to the store. Everybody's coming to the store, raiding the store because it's not going to be, so we're fighting over the food in the store, killing people there. There'll be bodies stacked up. I'll be coming home, but it's going to be a 7-mile walk home from the store. I can only carry so much food, and there'll be people ambushing me the entire way. So I'm going to start ambushing my neighbors, launching raids against their house and all that. But they're going to be, I have to fortify this is what society is going to become. Trust me, it's human nature. And then people are going to gather together in groups, and they'll have a common group. And it's not going to be about the constitutional rule of law. It's going to be about survival, basic survival. And that's the United States. What happens to places that lack this infrastructure? Again, we just go to Africa. When food isn't produced, water isn't come out, people starve to death. And when they starve to death, things start to happen. They get desperate. You're going to get migrations. Now, the migration takes care of itself over time because, 1 million people start marching, but they don't have enough food. People start falling aside, dying, but you're still going to get a couple 100,000 showing up where they want to go, and they're going to be desperate. They got one shot. There's no reasoning with them. They're coming over the wall. They're coming in. They don't care. They're dying. They're dead if they don't do this. This is the world. This is what's going to happen this fall. If this happens, if we run out of fertilizer, we run out of, the ability to grow food. So this is stupid. This is stupidity on the part of Donald Trump. This is the irrationality of this man.